You're just a poor old woman nobody needs. My daughter said that to me. I looked at her, not angry, just cold inside my chest. She turned away decisive as if she'd just tossed out something broken. I quietly packed my bags. No questions asked. No one saw me off. That evening I left the house I once built. I took only 3 things: a coat my heart medication and my late husband's will. 3 days later, I sat in a lawyer's office signing the papers to confirm my inheritance, $8 million from my late husband. I didn't call her, just mailed a postcard with one simple line: I'm still your mother, but I'm no longer poor. Maybe you're here because some stories touch something real deep in your heart. If that's the case, leave a like and subscribe. It helps me keep telling and helps you never miss what's worth hearing. Now, sit down, take a deep breath. Let me tell you the rest. On the first morning of fall, I sat at the table and poured my usual tea. The scent of lemon rose up, hot, soothing. The window was open. The wooden floor creaked as I stepped into the kitchen. I had lived in this house for nearly 40 years. I knew the kettle would whistle after exactly 8 minutes, knew the sparrows would land on the railing at 7. The maple tree outside the balcony had just started to turn gold. I tore off the calendar page like I did every morning. Everything was still the same: the old porcelain cup, the window cloth. That was all I needed, but maybe that's why. I didn't know it would be the last morning. Everything stayed the same. That day, I returned from a community charity event in St. Petersburg with Vera, a longtime friend. It was already dusk, and the cold wind slapped against my face, carrying the damp scent of the Neva River. As I stepped out of the car, I saw Mrs. Rosa, the elderly neighbor across the street, standing silently by a bare tree stump where a maple used to be. She whispered without looking at me, "My kid said the tree was too old, didn't give shade anymore, but shade's what you need most when you're old, isn't it?" I said nothing, just looked at her and saw myself in another version. I stepped inside and saw Anna laughing in the living room. She said she was in love with someone named Roman. I had just set down my teacup when he walked in, well-dressed, polite, looked people straight in the eye, the kind of man anyone would like at first sight, but his eyes, they scanned the glass cabinet, the bookshelf, the purse I'd left on the table, like a scanner assessing assets. I didn't say anything, just smiled and took a sip of tea. Dinner that evening was quiet, only Anna's soft giggles filling the air. Roman set down his plate and casually said, "You live this simply in a neighborhood like this, must have a few properties under your name, huh?" I looked up, met his eyes, didn't smile, didn't reply. Anna stayed quiet. Roman chuckled, brushing it off. "Just kidding, of course." I kept eating. The food was cold. No one said another word. From that day, I started paying attention. Roman visited more often, but never empty-handed. A bottle of wine, a bouquet, a well-timed compliment. He smiled a lot, but his eyes always wandered, especially when I opened the cupboard for glasses or went to my room for a shawl. I pretended not to notice, but I started locking drawers with important papers. Once I heard the balcony door quietly click shut, and the picture frame on the shelf was always slightly off after he came. I never told Anna. I just slowly wiped the table again, putting everything back in place. Back then, I still hoped I was wrong, but inside, a small bell had rung very softly. Anna and Roman's wedding was held at a 5-star hotel. I wasn't informed. I wasn't asked. I once held her alone on a freezing night, hands shaking with no one around. Now I poured tea with these same old hands, welcoming my daughter as a stranger. When Anna was born, the power was out. The clinic was silent. My husband was away on a business trip. No one waited at the door. The baby was placed on my chest. She cried. I didn't. I only whispered, "No matter what happens, I'll never abandon you." Back then I had nothing except that promise, and now I have everything, except knowing whether my daughter still needs her mother. Just 2 days before the wedding, she said, one sentence: "Mom, we need you to help cover the costs. I know you can." I stood silently in the kitchen, still holding a dish towel. I didn't ask. I didn't refuse. The next day, I withdrew the money. From an old savings book, its cover faded. It was my retirement fund, saved from market trips from winters without heating. I withdrew it all, not because I trusted Roman, but because I was afraid Anna would fall and no one would catch her. Roman beamed at the wedding, thanking everyone nonstop. I sat at the corner table, watching them raise their glasses, watching the lights, and telling myself, if my child is happy, then this is enough. After the wedding, Roman came over more often. No more flowers, no more wine, only business talk now, big connections, rare opportunities. One day while I was in the kitchen, Roman leaned in and said quietly, "If you have idle money, Mom, you should invest $1 million. I'll make sure the returns are high." I looked him straight in the eye, not surprised, not smiling. "I don't have idle money," I replied. "Only money to live on and to be buried with." Roman gave an awkward laugh, nodded, and changed the subject. But from that day on, he changed his tone. No more greetings when entering the house, no eye contact, no smile. He only spoke to Anna, brief, sometimes irritated. I poured him tea, he didn't take it. Whenever I offered an opinion, Roman sighed, glanced at his watch, and Anna would say, "Mom, times are different now." Then she'd lower her eyes, folding the napkin in her hands. I didn't blame her. I just started noticing a new kind of smell in the house. Not mustiness, but the cold scent of someone scheming and seeing me as an obstacle. I started locking my bedroom door even during the day, and I hid the property documents in the false bottom of my wooden cabinet where only I knew. Roman began pushing Anna to ask me for money. Once I overheard him raising his voice in the kitchen. "You're old. What's the point of keeping money? If you're not helping us, might as well save it for your grave." Anna hesitated at first, but then repeated it softer, yet more painful. "Mom, Roman and I have a big plan. We just need you to sell this apartment." I went numb. This apartment I had lived in for almost 40 years, where her father's laughter once echoed, where we shared countless dinners, countless morning teas. This house wasn't just a place to live. It was where I kept the best version of myself and of my child. Now someone wanted to trade it in for a $1 million investment plan. And all I could think was, how do you measure the worth of these steps I've walked for decades? I answered, "No, this is my home." Anna cried, not from sorrow, but from anger. "You only know how to cling to the past. You're selfish. You never support my dreams." I stood up, said nothing. That evening, I quietly packed my belongings, just 3 things: my coat heart medication, and all the documents, and Will, my husband, left me. I walked away, lightly but firmly, never looked back. I planned to visit my younger sister Isabella to quietly gather information. I called a car service. The driver who came was an old man in his 70s, thin but steady behind the wheel. His name tag read, Leonard. He glanced at me in the rearview mirror and asked gently, "Where to miss you seem heavy-hearted?" I replied, "Far enough, so that if I ever return, it's because I want to, not because I was pulled back." He stared straight ahead, then said quietly, "My son made mistakes too. I let him come back too many times, until there was nothing left for him to return to." Before I got out, he added, "Some children only grow up when their parents are finally willing to walk away first." I gave a slight nod, and for the first time in many years, I slept soundly. Not because everything was okay, but because at last I had chosen to stand with myself. A week later, Anna came to the house, not to apologize, but to hand me some papers. "I need your signature," she said, avoiding eye contact. "Transfer of ownership. Our lawyer will handle everything." I looked at my daughter, the little girl who once feared the dark, who used to fall asleep in my arms every night. "No," I said, "I won't sign." Anna stayed silent for a moment, then coldly said, "You're just a poor old woman who can't help me with anything." I didn't argue, I just nodded. For all these years I'd lived simply: old clothes, a worn-out purse, a small home with just enough to get by. They thought I was broke. No one knew I held a great secret. There was a time, Aiden came home with a look in his eyes. Someone offered me a real estate investment deal, promised 10 times my current salary. I looked at him, smiled because I trusted that man. He continued, "We can be poor, but we must never let our child see us change because of money." Then he quietly took off his coat and went into the kitchen to reheat the pot of soup. Back then, the entire house had only one working light bulb, but we still had dinner together. Now, my daughter sat in this warm apartment and said, "You're selfish. You don't support my dreams." Before he passed, Aiden had invested in a project, a quiet real estate deal in my name. The paperwork was sent to a lawyer in Chicago. Its current value, $8 million. We never told Anna, because Aiden once told me calm but firm, "Don't let money turn her into someone else." I stayed silent. Then he added his final words before he died. "If she's truly kind, she won't need the $8 million. If she only loves money, she'll show you herself." I kept that promise, lived as if I had nothing to see, who stayed beside me when there was nothing left to give. And now I've seen it, clear as day down to the expression on her face. 5 years ago, I believed in my daughter wholeheartedly. Anna was still young, passionate. Her eyes lit up as she said, "Mom, I finally have a chance. My best friend Rusi and I want to open a fashion boutique. We just need $200, $1,000 to start." I didn't ask many questions, just said, "This is all of my retirement savings. Take it. But don't lose it." She hugged me, tears in her eyes. I thought I had just handed her hope. But a few months later, there was no boutique, no clothes, no best friend. I found out Anna had transferred all the money to her ex-boyfriend to invest in cryptocurrency. No discussion, no apology. When I asked her, she only repeated, "I didn't know anything." From then on, the warmth in our home started to fade. Dinners lost their conversations. Holidays were marked by empty chairs. I never asked for the money back. I simply folded the old bills away and folded away the trust that had just shattered. That night, I sat alone in my small room, the yellow light casting soft shadows on the wall. I opened the drawer and took out my old phone, typed each number slowly, Mateo's number, the elderly lawyer who had worked with my husband for nearly 20 years. The phone rang a few times, then he picked up. His voice was still calm and deep, just like before. "Elena, after all these years, is everything all right?" I whispered. "I'd like to meet. It's personal. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. My old office. I'll be waiting." I hung up. No long explanation, no words, just silence for a moment longer. I opened the old drawer where Aiden kept important papers. There it was, a yellow envelope tucked neatly inside. On it, his familiar handwriting, "Only open when you truly need to know." My hands trembled as I opened it. It was a letter from him, handwritten not long before he passed. "Elena, if she knows how to live right, she won't need the money. I'm leaving $8 million not to give, but to choose. Sometimes love means not saving. Aiden." I rummaged through the last drawer, and there I found another envelope, a letter from Mr. James, the man who had worked with Aiden during his final years. In it, he wrote about how Aiden had once wanted to use part of the investment to help an old friend with cancer, but hesitated, saying, "I'm afraid my wife might not approve." I read it again, a third time, but I didn't feel angry, so even he had something he never said, just like me. The next morning, I went to Mateo's office. A light rain fell. I brought my old bag with me, inside a sealed file I'd kept for years. I looked him in the eyes and said clearly, "I want to change my will, reallocate the entire estate, starting today. $8 million. A number no one knew. But to me, every dollar carried Aiden's final words. I divided it into 4 parts. The first part, I created a scholarship fund in his name, for orphan students, those with no support needing a chance to continue school. The second part, a legal defense fund for women who suffer financial abuse, those who were robbed, controlled, silenced by husbands, relatives, or even their own children. The third part, a community aid fund for the homeless, the poor, the elderly, the sick. The last part I gave to a little girl I had been quietly sponsoring for the past 3 years. She was kind, studious. She never asked for anything except a warm coat. I signed. Each stroke of the pen was light, but certain. I left nothing to Anna, not for now, not out of revenge, but because I believe this money doesn't save someone who's lost. It only helps them get more lost faster. The next morning, I stopped by Vera's house. She had retired as a judge. We sat in her small kitchen sipping black coffee like always. I told her everything. about Roman, about Anna, about what I was about to do. She was quiet for a long time, stirring her spoon slowly. Then she looked at me, her voice calm but firm. Elena, only when people are poor do they reveal their true morals. I nodded, said nothing, because I knew only in the moments when I thought I'd lost everything did I finally see who still held on to what truly mattered. When I returned home, I quietly called Noah Vera's son a skilled investigator. I didn't tell anyone, not even Anna. I simply gave him Roman's full name, a photo, and a few details. No rush, I said. Just be accurate. 3 weeks later, Noah came back. The file was thicker than I expected. Roman was a systematic con artist. He had used at least 3 different identities, married 3 older women abroad, in Switzerland, Canada, and Australia. The pattern was always the same. They all had assets. They lived alone. They truly loved him. And just a few months after each wedding, the money disappeared. And so did Roman. None of the cases became formal charges because he always left just before anyone could sue. Clean, no traces. I closed the file, placed my hand on the cover. Cold, hard, and I realized this time it wasn't just about money. It was my daughter, standing on the edge of a cliff. And me, though hurt, I was the only one who might still be able to pull her back. That day, I opened another cabinet, took out a plastic-covered folder. No hesitation, no looking back. I carried it to a cafe at the end of the street, the one with weak Wi-Fi, but just enough to send an email. I sat in a quiet corner, opened my phone, launched the camera app. 1 page at a time, shady contracts, strange money transfers, photos of Roman with 3 different women. I attached them all. Typed in the email address, subject, information you should know, message body. I believe you'll want to look into this. I hit send. The screen went blank. Sent appeared cold and still like the surface of water before a storm. I closed the phone, stood up. Didn't look back. Outside, the sun was still shining, but I knew the storm this time wouldn't be mine alone to bear. 2 weeks passed. Roman called. 11 times. I didn't answer. His bank accounts were frozen completely. His stocks plummeted. His parent company released a statement, suspending cooperation with Mr. Roman pending investigation. News sites started reporting embezzlement allegations, the many faces of a businessman. I sat by the window, ginger tea in hand. The TV was off. Only light from the window fell across the wall, cold and still. I didn't smile, didn't feel anger, just a strange calmness, because finally I had acted, quietly, clearly, without needing to shout that I was right. I didn't destroy him. I just returned everything to where it belonged. Anna froze when she received Roman's final message. Just one line. I'm sorry. I have to go. No call, no explanation, just emptiness and a $200,000 debt in her name labeled pending joint investment. She called the lawyer. He confirmed the signature on the contract was hers. The joint account had been emptied 3 days before Roman disappeared. She slammed her hand on the table. No tears, just a jaw, trembling with each breath. The engagement ring she once flaunted all over social media now sat in a drawer, worthless. The bank sent a notice, first repayment due in 5 days. Roman was no longer in the country, left nothing behind except debt. Anna called me. My voice was cold. I told you not to trust sweet talkers. Anna sat on the floor in her living room, on the white carpet she once said made her feel safe. Now it only felt cold. And a question kept echoing in her mind. How can someone disappear with your whole future? That afternoon, Anna drove to my house. It was pouring rain. She brought nothing with her except anger and a broken heart. I opened the door, didn't ask, didn't hug, just stepped aside to let her in. She dropped onto the couch, eyes red. Why didn't you warn me, Mom? I poured her tea, my voice steady. You never asked. At the wedding, I was only mentioned as the one who paid. She lowered her head, her voice trembling like when she was little, and got a bad grade. If you love me, could you help me this time? I looked at her for a long moment, not because I hesitated, but because I knew from this moment on everything would change. I once sold the watch. Aiden left me his final wedding gift to me, quietly pawned it barely enough to cover her tuition so she wouldn't be expelled. That night I got home late, didn't get the chance to tell her. The next morning I saw Anna step out of the house, designer bag in hand, smiling at her boyfriend waiting by the car. She walked right past me, never asking, never needing to know she had just been saved. That day I understood. Some rescues don't earn gratitude. They only cost you something greater than money. I set my teacup down. The soft clink sounded like the end of a sentence. Not a single dollar. She froze, her eyes blank like she had just lost her last foothold. I stood up, opened the drawer, took out a folder. But I'll help you start over. There's a place that needs extra hands. A short accounting course. If you want to begin, start here, she said nothing. Bit her lip. I recognized that silence. It hurt, but it was clear. I placed my hand on the document, my voice soft but firm. I used to think love meant saving, but it doesn't. Love is letting you learn to stand up, because if I lift you now, you'll just fall again at the same place. She nodded, not in agreement, but because she understood. This time, I wouldn't coddle her. This time, I would let her grow. I made one phone call. Brief. No long explanation. The person on the other end understood immediately. A few days later, I handed Anna a small note. This Monday, 7 a.m. Internal accountant. They're short-staffed. She looked at the address, then looked at me puzzled. Where is this? I simply replied. A charity organization. You'll understand in time. As Anna began working and saving every penny, she called a car to take her to the center, and the driver was none other than Leonard. Where to today? Miss Anna smiled and said, toward where my mother has been standing for a long time. I never told her that for years. I'd quietly sent donations to support them. No name, no credit, just a real place where Anna could start again from rock bottom. The job wasn't easy. Piles of paperwork, outdated software, strict coworkers. Her pay was just enough to rent a small apartment near the bus station. No money left for nice clothes. No more candlelit dinners with wine and flowers. But each evening when she messaged me today, I balanced the budget and found an error. I smiled. She didn't know, but I kept quietly watching from afar. No interference, no help, just observing. And for the first time in her life, Anna understood what it meant to earn every penny with her own hands, to appreciate a bus ticket, a home-cooked meal, and a debt-free night of sleep. More importantly, she began to realize value doesn't lie in diamond rings or sweet promises. It lies in standing tall, even when there's no one left to hold your hand. That day, during a small birthday party at the center, slices of cake were handed out to the children. Mia, the little girl I secretly sponsored, just sat quietly, not eating anything. Anna walked over. You don't like cake? The girl shook her head. It's okay, miss. My mom says, kids like us don't have birthdays. Anna gently squeezed her hand. Her eyes didn't well up, but her heart did. That night, she stood silently in the kitchen for a long time, then walked up behind me and hugged me. Didn't say a word. Around the 8th month at the center, Anna met Lucas, a kind man, soft-spoken, a good listener. He wasn't flashy. He talked a lot about kindness, failure, and rebuilding life from the ground up. Anna understood that feeling, so she trusted easily. One evening, he mentioned a small investment opportunity. Just a few $1,000s, not much, he said, but it was enough to make her past ache again. Anna didn't tell me. She quietly did her research. Called the company Lucas said he worked for. No one by that name. She didn't show up for their dinner. Instead, she texted him just one line. I've learned how to stand up. And this time, I don't need to fall first. No anger, no pain, just clarity. Back home, Anna poured herself tea and placed the cup down, the sound reminding me of a quiet morning long ago. I looked at her, didn't ask a thing. She smiled, small but steady. I think I finally know how to love myself the right way. Anna was no longer the girl crying in the rain, knocking on my door like a lost child. Now she stood firm, shoulders back, gaze forward. No dramatics, No decoration, just working and doing it well. A few days later, while reviewing the center's budget, Anna noticed several anonymous donations marked EB Curious. She cross-checked the account number. Her heart froze. It was mine. For over a year, every class, every piece of equipment, every scholarship, everything she thought came from luck or nameless sponsors had come from me. Quietly, unnamed, uncredited. That evening, Anna brought me tea. She said nothing, no explanation, just placed the cup down, her eyes misty. I looked at her for a moment, then nodded gently. No thanks needed. Just knowing that the little girl I once raised had finally seen the truth, love isn't about saying. It's about standing behind someone as they learn how to be whole. One late afternoon, I visited the community center. I said I was just passing by, but really I had arrived long before the opening ceremony. On a small stage, Anna stood speaking to a group of women of all ages. They laughed, took notes, hung on every word she shared about finances, budgeting, and building from nothing. Behind her was a handwritten sign, Women's Economic Empowerment Program, free of charge. No one knew I was her mother. No one knew this center once survived on nameless donations. No one knew I once refused to give her a single penny. And she never mentioned it, never took credit, never spoke of her past failure, never talked about the debt, never brought up her mother. That day, Mia sat next to Grandma Rosa. The old lady leaned in and whispered, "What will you say in front of everyone?" Mia hesitated, then softly replied, "I used to think only rich people could help others. But Miss Anna didn't give me anything. Except her time. She didn't lecture, didn't promise. She just sat still and waited for me to finish." I turned to Anna, saying nothing, but my eyes said everything. The child who once only knew how to take now gives exactly what she once lacked. A few minutes later, Anna invited Grandma Rosa to the stage. The woman stood slowly, no speech, no big words, just a story. "A few months ago, the kids chopped down the maple tree in front of my house. They said it was old, no longer offered shade. I didn't argue, I just stayed quiet. Then another grandchild came. They planted a new tree for me, not the same roots. But it was real." The whole room fell silent. I looked at Anna, no need for words, because I knew she couldn't fix the past. But she chose to plant again, not with money, but with experience and the steady fire in her eyes. And I understood. The moment she no longer needed me was the moment I was most proud. That day, Anna was making tea and tidying the lounge. A woman named Tracy sat beside her. Kind-faced eyes, deep with sorrow, the kind that had seen a lot of broken things. They drank tea together. Tracy spoke slowly without drama about a man named Roman. He had loved promised and betrayed. You know what hurt the most, she lifted her gaze, eyes meeting the steam above her cup. It wasn't losing the money. It was feeling stupid for believing. Anna didn't interrupt, didn't defend herself. She simply squeezed the hand on the table where the ring Roman once gave still rested, cold and worthless. They both laughed, softly, sadly. But within that laughter, for the first time, Anna didn't feel alone, and perhaps she no longer needed to play the role of the strong one anymore. As she walked Tracy out, Anna noticed Sienna, a quiet 18-year-old girl from the center, lingering outside the gates with an older, wealthy man who often waited for her. Anna approached her and gently said, "You should be careful." Sienna snapped back coldly, "You fell once, so let others fall too. Don't interfere." Anna froze, not angry, just stunned, as if staring at her younger self, reckless, defensive, not wanting to be saved. That night, she reopened the old notebook her mother had given her. Small jobs, modest pay, but honest and real. The next day, Anna didn't push further. She simply laid a paper in front of Sienna. Inside is the work schedule and the account number where you'll receive your pay. If you choose to walk away, I won't stop you. But if one day you choose to come back to yourself, start here. 2 weeks later, Vera sent me an article, Roman's face on the front page. At last, he was paying for his crimes. 3 former wives stood together exposing everything, the lies, the financial scams, the emotional scars he left behind. They took him to court with solid evidence. The trial made it impossible for Roman to deny or run. Justice was served, truth revealed. A few days later, after another late-night talk at the women's circle, Anna came home. The kitchen lights were still on. I was making tea, my hands slow but steady like always. Anna pulled out a chair, sat beside me in silence. Then softly she asked if you had given me those millions back then. Do you think my life would have been different? I didn't answer right away. I stirred my tea, set the spoon down gently. Then I smiled warmly, thoughtfully, as if I had answered that question many times in my heart. Of course it would have been different. You would have been richer, but not stronger, and I would have lost you. I placed my hand on the table next to hers, not touching, just near enough. Thank God. I didn't say anything about the 8 million back then. Anna handed me an envelope with no name. Inside was a small check, not much, but enough to make me pause, and a folded note in her familiar handwriting. It's not a lot, but this time I want to be the one who gives. Anna looked at me quietly. No tears, just something gentle settling between us, like the peace that comes when you know someone stayed, without needing to hold you. I tucked the check away next to Aiden's last letter. That evening, when Vera stopped by the center, she whispered, "The girl finally understands that real love never takes, it simply holds space." No one said more, but sometimes silence is the clearest form of love. Months into working at the center, Anna proposed expanding the Economic Empowerment for Women program. She believed if someone believes in you at the right time, your life can take a different turn. Anna wrote funding requests, sent them out without expecting much. Weeks later, a reply came. The first line made her still. The Aiden's Foundation has agreed to fund the program for another year. She stared at the name, then looked up toward her mother pouring tea by the window. Neither said a word. But in that glance, Anna understood money had once led her astray. But now placed in the right hands, it brought her back to who she truly was. And for the first time in years, they sat together drinking tea. No distance, only understanding, and a new beginning. That night, I messaged Mr. James, "I think it's time we use the money we never gave to help someone just like Aiden would have wanted." Weeks later, Mr. James visited the center representing an anonymous donation to launch a new class. Anna asked, surprised, "Why did you choose this place?" He smiled at me and said, "Because this is where the woman who once taught me that love can also mean silence." As for Leonard, the old driver who drove me that day, he started visiting the center too, quietly, fixing light bulbs, brewing tea, organizing the supply room. One rainy afternoon, Anna sat with him under the porch. She told her story not dramatically, just honestly. Leonard spoke slowly. "I once had a son who ran away from home. Back then, I kept trying to hold on. Later, I realized parents can't hold on forever. They can only stay still in a place the child knows how to return to." Before leaving, he slipped Anna a small piece of paper. "Write it, a letter, to the version of yourself that was once lost." That evening, I saw Anna frame a handwritten note and hang it at the center. It read, "To the woman who once lost herself." If you're reading this, it means there's still a way back. The next morning, I went with the center to visit a local nursing home. There, I unexpectedly ran into Lana, an old high school friend. She was frail now, in a wheelchair, living alone. I asked quietly, "How's your daughter Lana?" Gave a dry smile. "She's fine. Living in the house I signed over to her. I gave her everything, my savings too. I thought that's what mothers do. But I was wrong, because I gave it all before she knew how to value anything." After a pause, Lana added softly, "Not every mother gets the time to wait for her child to wake up. Some only live long enough to forgive, but not long enough to see anything change." On the way home, I said nothing. That night, I opened my drawer and took out the check Anna once gave me. I didn't look at the amount. I simply ran my fingers along the edge of the paper, as if touching something few mothers are lucky enough to still hold. Family isn't measured by money. It's measured by how we let our children grow. Being a parent means having enough clarity to stay silent and enough strength to let them fall, but also enough love to still be there when they finally want to rise. What about you? If it were your child, would you have the courage not to catch them on their first fall?